Get ready for a fascinating journey into the world of the Royal Guard, those enigmatic figures who protect the British monarchy. With their iconic red jackets and towering black bearskin hats, they're recognized worldwide. But have you ever wondered what really goes on behind those stoic faces? There are countless secrets and hidden traditions that few people know about. Today, we're going to uncover some of these mysteries and reveal surprising facts about these dedicated soldiers. Stay tuned, because what you're about to learn will change your view of the Queen's Guards forever. Let's dive in. These easily recognizable guys, often photographed and surrounded by tourists, might always be in the spotlight, but I bet there are a few things about them you didn't know. We're counting down from number 11. It's true that nobody is allowed to touch or threaten the guards, but it's a widespread myth that they aren't allowed to speak at all. In fact, the soldiers can shout a warning, something like, "Make way for the King's Guard." Plus, if a distracted tourist doesn't move out of the way, the guards have every right to push them aside. So, watch out. Number 10. King's Guards are required to faint according to protocol. And yes, it happens. Imagine this. It's the height of summer, and you're wearing thick woolen clothing topped off with a heavy bearskin hat. Naturally, even the most prepared individuals can sometimes find this a bit too much to handle. But even when a guard does faint, they have to do it in a specific way. As soon as they feel lightheaded, they must stay at attention and keep that posture even as they fall. This is called fainting at attention, which is why you won't see a collapsed guard sprawled out on the ground. Number 9. King's Guards are not allowed to abandon their post no matter what. But surely they can take a break to use the restroom when needed, right? Wrong. The Royal Guards are given strict instructions to relieve themselves right where they stand. Luckily, their heavy wool trousers are dark enough to hide any embarrassment. Number 8. It's also not true that the Royal Guards can't move at all. On the contrary, they are required to move from time to time because standing still for too long is bad for their health. Every 10 minutes, the guards leave their position, turn, march a few steps, then turn again, and return to their spot to stand still for the next 10 minutes. However, those are the only movements they're allowed to make. No scratching their nose, no swatting away an itch, no wiping off sweat. Number 7. You've probably noticed that most of the time the Royal Guards wear bright red jackets, but sometimes you might see them in long grey coats. One of the most creative explanations I've heard for this is that when the king is happy, the guards wear red jackets, but when he's in a bad mood, the soldiers switch to grey coats. As charming as that idea sounds, it couldn't be further from the truth. The Royal Guards wear red jackets during spring and summer and long grey coats during autumn and winter. The coats are long and warm enough to allow the soldiers to remain still for long periods, protecting them from the elements. Number 6. Under no circumstances are the guards allowed to smile or laugh, although tourists try their hardest to get them to crack a grin. The truth is, the soldiers train to stay immune to smiles to avoid losing their pay. If a superior catches a guard stretching their lips into a smile, the guard could face a fine of up to a week's pay. In most cases, the overly happy guard must be ready to fork out about $260. That said, every once in a while even the guards can't help but laugh. As one of them put it, some people are just too funny. Number 5. The Royal Guards absolutely hate hot weather, and I don't blame them. Warm clothes, heavy hats, blazing sun, and no chance to wipe the sweat. Wait, what? But that's not the main reason they dread hot days. It turns out that when their boots are exposed to the sun for too long, the polish starts to melt. This means that after every shift, the guards have to re-polish their boots. Number 4. The King's Guards originally wore their tall bearskin hats to look more intimidating and taller. The iconic bearskin hat worn by the Royal Guards has a historical origin that dates back to the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. After the British victory over Napoleon's forces, the British adopted the style of the French grenadiers, who wore these tall hats to intimidate their enemies and appear more imposing on the battlefield. Introducing the hat to the Royal Guard wasn't just an aesthetic choice, it was also a way of demonstrating British superiority over their defeated opponents. Over time, this hat became a symbol of British military tradition, easily recognized in ceremonies and official events. Recently, they tried switching to synthetic fur instead of real fur, but it didn't quite work out. The artificial fur just didn't look as good as the real thing. Plus, the color fades easily, so it doesn't last as long. On the other hand, real bearskin hats are impressively heavy. One can weigh anywhere from 4 to 9 pounds, and when it rains or snows, the bearskin absorbs all the moisture and becomes even heavier. By the way, the position of the strap under the guard's nose serves a purpose. The bearskin hat is so heavy that if it were hit or shot during combat, it could easily break the soldier's neck if the strap were positioned under the chin. I understand that placing the strap under the nose is much safer, though I'm not sure how comfortable it is. Number 3. To become one of the Royal Guards, you need to pass the BARB test, which stands for British Army Recruit Battery. It's a computerized half-hour test that checks your problem-solving, analysis, and logical reasoning skills. Plus, the exam tests whether the recruit will be able to adapt to their future role. But even if you ace the test, there's still one more condition. You need to be tall, about 1.80 meters, 5 feet 10 inches. The height requirement used to be 1.88 meters, 6 feet 2 inches, but recently it's been lowered to 1.78 meters, 5 feet 10 inches. Number 2, and here's another thing about those famous red jackets. It's a common belief that the Queen's Guard started wearing their red jackets because during combat, the blood would blend in with their clothing, preventing demoralization among the troops. However, it turns out that the reason was actually quite different. Red was chosen because it was one of the most readily available pigments at the time. Plus, it only required one step in the dyeing process. Number 1, without a doubt, the Royal Guards must follow countless rules and regulations, but that doesn't mean they don't have a little fun. The famous changing of the guard ceremony at Buckingham Palace is one of the most recognized British traditions worldwide, with its origins dating back to 1660. This ceremony symbolizes the shift in responsibility between the guards protecting the palace and takes place on scheduled days, attracting thousands of tourists. The changing of the guard is carried out with great precision and discipline, involving a series of choreographed movements that reflect British military tradition. During the ceremony, the guards march to the sound of a military band, and sometimes the public gets to witness musical performances that go beyond traditional patriotic marches, with pieces from popular films. The ceremony lasts about 45 minutes and takes place not only at Buckingham Palace, but also at Windsor Castle and the Tower of London, where the security of the crown jewels is also handled by the Royal Guards. The changing of the guard is a symbol of continuity and stability within the monarchy, reflecting the guards' loyalty and dedication to their service. And here's something fun. When the guards are accompanied by the regimental band, like during the changing of the guard ceremony, the musicians sometimes play something a bit lighter than the usual patriotic tunes and marches. If you're lucky, you might catch them playing the Imperial March from Star Wars, or even themes from Indiana Jones and Game of Thrones.